Um, I've been doing some studying this weekend, um, and I don't really have a structure for this. I don't really think that I consider myself to be a lecturer by those terms. Um, I think a lot of what I'm doing is just like talking and hoping that people will interact to like help me make sense of things, to stress test the things that I research, hypotheses that I have, things of that nature. But for the sake of some old bullshit, this is all entertainment. I didn't think I would need to say that shit, but I guess I gotta say it. It's in the description of this channel, so I guess I really don't have to say it legally, but like, just don't. I don't know, dude. I'm not gonna do that again. I don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want to do. Um, so if you saw the title of this, it may have triggered you a little bit. Let me give you my thought process. Okay. If you are familiar with the Gnostic teachings, it talks about how the demiurge is created in sections, if you will. The demiurge is created in sections. Each aspect of the being is represented, and not just the seven deadly sins, but physical attributes: teeth, hair, nails, skin. Going off of that, and I'll tell you, I got this thought process from watching a very shitty, scary movie, horror movie, if you want to call it that. It was not good. I can't remember. Is it Remember the Name, or like, it's basically a exorcism movie. Terrible, really bad movie. Just not good. Acting was bad, writing was bad. But within watching this movie, I did pick up on some things that gave me thought. One of those thoughts was when one of the exorcists brought out a specific text. He's explaining that when he comes to each exorcism, he pulls out all of the few tools that he uses. One of those tools was not the Bible. It was a specific text that he says is passed down generation to generation by exorcists. It's not a Bible. It's not the Book of Enoch. It is a text that contains, amongst other things, the names of each of the demons that can possess said beings. I found that to be very interesting. I found that to be very interesting. I don't believe in demons in that way, but I do believe that belief can bring power to things. I've got other videos talking about egregores and things of that nature, right? So when they talk about what's in the book, he says the first are the fallen, referencing the fallen angels. He said, then comes after that the kings of hell, the nine kings of hell, right? Payman, you know, Satan, the other fallen kings of hell. I think actually Satan is in that first realm of the fallen, but regardless. Then after that, he says there are the hordes that are subject to the nine kings. Then he says there are the legions. The legions, right? Once you start to look at that, you get an understanding of some sort of beings that are many. That started to make me think of the concept of the demiurge and the legions, right? And then for some reason, I don't know where the fuck this came from in my thought process, But very quickly, my brain said, okay, now think about what you've learned since that stuff was kind of programmed into you from going to church, right? Because I'm no longer a religious person. And the thought just popped into my head that the Elohim, previously thought to mean one person, does not mean one person. The Elohim is a large group, a large majesty of beings. Let us create man in our image, not in my image, our image. These are parts of the text that have been changed, right? So if you compare those two statements, I am legion, for we are many. Let us create man in our image. And then you look at the concept of the supposed Satan, that's not a real thing, or the supposed Antichrist, whatever, the adversary, right? That's the way I really like to look at it myself, the adversary. The adversary is not one person, just as the Elohim is not one person. So if you say, I am legion, for we are many, which, regardless to how you feel about it, that is a very conjoining togetherness way of saying that. And then you think about the antithesis of that statement, which would be something like what the Elohim said: let us create man in our image. Is there a true difference between those two groups of beings? Or is it the same motherfuckers talking about doing the same shit? Right? Like, yeah, that's something that really, really stuck with me while watching this supremely shitty movie. I'm not telling you to watch that movie by any means. It's a complete waste of time. I guess not. Maybe it brought me to this thought process, but it's not a good movie. It's it's strange to me that there are texts that give credence to the concept of multiple beings being created that now make up the being which you inhabit, the avatar which you inhabit, meaning the demiurge, teeth, hair, nails, eyes, ears, skin. Those are all separate entities that were created that have separate traits, right? Similar to the seven deadly sins, but more broken down into very specific, traits. And then when you look at that, and that being considered to be the demiurge, meaning the body is the beast, which is why there's other texts that refer to the body being the beast, 666, six carbon, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, and six. I have not slept. I'm sick still. Sorry. 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, protons. That being considered to be the beast by that standard, 666, right? If that is the case, and then within the Gnostic text, it talks about you being built, you specifically, your avatar anyway, not your spirit or your soul, but your avatar being built very specifically by negative forces, by things that are not positive, they're not good things, right? And then you compare that to the statements that are made within the text talking about the Elohim creating man in our image versus my image, meaning it's not one person creating you, it is many. And then the statement, I am legion, for we are many, that really stuck out to me. And I am still, that happened last night, so I haven't done too much looking into it today, but I already had the foreknowledge of the Gnostic texts, of some scripture, and of some kind of folklore, really giving a lot of credence to that very sudden thought that popped into my head, where if you compare the Elohim to Legion, Though those are thought to be the exact opposite, the antithesis of each other, the opposite sides of the spectrum, much of my research has led me to see that there is no opposite. They are one and the same. When you look at El, Yahweh, Storm God, also thought to be Satan, thought to be these. This is one being that is actually representative of many beings. They talk about themselves as if they are one being. It's like a court. They're talking about themselves as if they are one being, but it is a court of beings that are doing things and kind of mystifying it or making it seem as though it's one gigantic sky person that's doing all of this shit. When in reality, the actual text that has been changed references multiple beings, references creating the avatars that we currently stand in and have to be imprisoned in, essentially. And then when you go further into the texts that have been removed from said scriptures, meaning the book of Enoch and the Gospel of John and Peter and the Gnostic texts, essentially, it gives you the story in a different light. You just have to know how to decode that. You have to know how to understand what they're saying. They're saying the same shit. They're saying the same shit just in a different way and being slightly more real about it. You know, being slightly more upfront about creating this avatar that we are imprisoned in and referring to it as the demiurge. And another thing about that movie that really got me thinking, and I think this might have sparked why I thought this, was a comment that the Exorcist made. In order to defeat the demon, you have to know the demon's name. And then it led me to something that I heard another researcher say very recently, very, very high up, respected researcher. Not saying, that anybody is better than anyone else, more so just that they're very well known. Their thought is that 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 rule, that tenet, doesn't mean that all of these names, like all the L's and all of the many different demon names that we have come across, are the actual demon. The name that you need to know is you, which is more Jungian. That's more like Carl Jung shit. Aspects of the self, like realizing that these demons and these angels are just aspects of you that you need to rein in. You need to understand them and you need to make sense of them. You need to utilize them in ways that are beneficial to you but harm no one else. Very Jungian, right? The name of the demon that you need to figure out is just you, which is essentially like the whole mystery behind it is not figuring out some name that's in a book that you've likely never read, or names that you've likely never come across. It's understanding that these things are aspects of you and you need to get control of yourself. You need to understand yourself, whether it be through meditation. That works for some, doesn't work for others, doesn't work for me. There's too much interference here now. I'm sure it was different in the past, probably a long time ago. A lot of the frequency interference and electrical interference that we experience today has been here for a very long time, so that would have been a long time ago. But the name of said demon that you need to exercise is your own name. And that doesn't mean your fucking government name. It just means you need to figure out yourself. You need to figure out who you are. You need to figure out who you truly are spiritually, soul wise, not your government name, like repeating your government name over and over again. That does nothing. That's not who you truly are. If it was, then you wouldn't see a successful change of names. When people change their name, it works fine for them. Many people work off of pseudonyms and legally changed names and shit like that, that's not the name that they're speaking of. They're speaking of you. You need to find you and hone in on you and make sense of you so that you can then understand yourself completely and exercise anything from yourself that you don't want to be a part of you. Does that make sense? Like, watching this, I keep saying it, but watching this very shitty movie led me to that. It's crazy that that happened because I was legitimately and genuinely upset by like the third act of this movie. It was just terrible. But it led me to this very profound like thought process that happened within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, it led me to everything that I just said. And I wanted to share it. It's not something that I don't think I wasn't aware of. I think this is something that I've already been doing to my own chagrin and shitty experience. I've been going through real bad stuff from talking on this channel. I can't even express again because I've talked about it. If you want to go find those videos, you can. But I've gone through really bad stuff talking to you all about the things that I'm talking to you about. And I refuse to stop because this is my right as a sovereign being, as, as a deity. I can talk about whatever the fuck I want to. That also means that you have to be very, very, like, ready for whatever comes your way after that. And sadly, people can do stuff to you in your personal life for talking about shit. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. Yeah, man. I mean, I know that people are talking about Young way too much right now. I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm not the biggest fan of the. Okay, I'll take that back. I am a. I definitely understand why people use Jungian archetypes. I understand why people flock to Anton LaVey and his structure of Satanism, and I understand why people flock to like versions of magic where they're calling on different daemons and angels and archangels and shit like that. That's all the same shit, bro. You're doing the same shit. It's all the same shit. You're figuring yourself out. That's all that is. It's psychology. I've gotten very mad and talked about that in past videos too. That's why like I have a lifelong interest in seeing, experiencing, or doing actual magic, physical magic. When I say that, I'm not talking about young shit. I'm not talking about LaVey shit. I'm not talking about tree of life shit. I'm not talking about the cosmic egg shit. I'm not talking about any of that. That's all psychology. I don't want to fucking do psychology. I think I've studied that enough and figured that out. Am I saying I'm perfect? No, not by any means, but I have no interest in doing more psychology. When I say I would like to see and slash do slash learn, excuse me, magic, like, I mean, physical can see, like, stuff that you're doing that you should not be able to do by the normal bounds of physics. Levitating shit, transmuting shit, transforming shit, moving shit from one place to another instantaneously. Actual magic. That is very interesting to me. I don't think that's weird. I don't understand why that would be weird. It's mystifying. Just to talk about it is not a crime. If you think that that's weird, cool for you. Don't fucking try to be weird to me because I think that that's interesting. I don't understand why that would be strange. But I'm not the biggest fan of staying with that. Once you've realized that, and not just Anton LaVey, there's also the most evil man in the most evil man in the world, and even Nebuchadnezzar, or there's many figures throughout history, throughout time. Both of those are fake concepts, but throughout the documentation of us as this iteration, as beings that walk this place in these avatars, there are many iterations of beings that have figured out ways to display or explain the many aspects of you. So I've said this before, but when you call forth different demons or angels or archangels or whatever, you can pretend that that's some other being, and it may feel as though you've been taken over by something, but it's much more likely that you have somehow synthesized specific chemicals in your avatar, your mind, your brain, that is much more open to being a certain way. There are a couple of videos that I put out talking about a ritual that was done in the desert by that dude. Real barbaric shit. Just really, really shitty. The Golden Dawn. I mean, they same. They're very predatory shit. They did a lot of rituals. They did a lot of things to people. Some I think were just for pleasure. Others I think were done for like, you know, exploratory fashion. But regardless to any of that, all of that shit is just you creating a version of yourself in that moment. You have all this like mysterious and mystical, you know, chalk and salts and incense and candles and fucking people in robes and blood and sweat and bones and teeth and hair and all this shit. And sure, those may have some sort of alchemical effects that we don't understand, but I think the main point of it is that you are hyping yourself up into something that you can then use to display a version of yourself that is deep within. That doesn't mean that you're fucking summoning demons. It does. It doesn't mean that you're summoning archangels and shit. It doesn't mean that you're speaking in light code and shit like that. I understand that is very upsetting to certain people because that represents certain amounts of hope. When people get to talking in these videos and they start like basically getting the Holy Ghost and talking in like a non-language that they don't have to back up what they're saying, that gives certain people hope. That's sad to me. That makes me sad. That means they're going through such pain that they feel like they need to hear someone babble to them that things are going to be better and that there's some alien races here that are gonna fucking save them. That makes me sad that people are in such pain that that's what they need for hope. That makes me very, very sad. So, as much as like that shit is not popular to say, and as much as I'm sure I'll get some shit talking in comments or on Discord or some shit, I don't give a fuck, dude. Discord's not real. This shit is not real. Comments aren't real. Like, half of the comments that I see are from fucking bots anyway, so I'm gonna keep saying what I really, really think in real life. It helps to use those archetypes to understand yourself up front, like up front, to get aspects of yourself that you maybe didn't even know were there. I see the productivity in that. I see the benefit and value in that. But if you stay with it and you continue to give those named things that are not actually you power, then you can create egregores, which may also, most of the time, I don't think all the time, but most of the time, just be aspects of you that you've now sectioned off in your brain, much like MK Ultra. If you can separate people to have different personalities in MK Ultra by torture and many other processes that they use for that, why couldn't you do it in other ways? Why couldn't you do it in ways that are less painful? Not saying that all rituals are painless because you got to cut yourself and all kinds of shit in some of those rituals I've read about. But regardless, sometimes you got to hurt people. Regardless, though, there are other ways to reach the same goal, to reach the same means, right? So all I'm saying, I'm not saying that you shouldn't look into magic, magic with the K. That's just psychology. If you need that to find the aspects of yourself, fine. All I'm saying is that if you get stuck in that, it's just like getting stuck in religion. You're getting stuck in something that is not you in actuality. You are all that is. I am that I am. All I'm saying is that I don't need that. You shouldn't either. Once you understand, leave it. Let it go. It's unnecessary after a certain point. If it helps you, great. Great. I started this path by going to church when I was a kid. If I didn't go to church or read Bible scripture when I was a kid, I wouldn't understand half of this shit I understand now. And I very much understand that. Do I need it now? No. In fact, there are parts of it where I see the shittiness. I see the deception. I see the manipulation. And all I'm saying to y'all is that there are other disciplines that are using the same concepts as that. So when you are a practicing magician or witch or druid or whatever the fuck, and you're talking shit about Christians and Muslims and Jewish, practitioners, you're all doing the same shit. You're all doing the same shit. So there are others that are kind of looking at that and saying, we're not laughing because it hurts. I don't like to see that in my brothers and sisters. I don't like seeing that. There's a difference that we've talked about on this channel before about, like, there are some people that seem very much to have a spark within them, and then there are others that seem to be operating under some sort of like program or some shit. I don't know what the fuck that is. People get upset when I say it and call me crazy or whatever, but it's unmistakable. If you can't see that, then you're likely on the ladder. But it does upset me when I see those that have potentially that spark, that are caught up in something dumb or goofy that has them ensnared. It upsets me. It makes me sad. I don't want you to be ensnared in that way. Whole reason I started this channel was to find more of you. So, I don't know. I thought that was interesting, and wanted to share it. I do think that there's something there. It may not be exactly what I just described, but the commonalities and the delineations between the Legion and Elohim shit, I find that to be a little strange. I think that's weird. I think it's, and I've talked about that concept before, where it's like, look at how corporations and companies operate. If you are a true top tier $1 billion company or organization, you're on both sides. If you truly want to make money as a corporation, what do? Let's talk about the FDA or the tobacco organizations, or warmongers. Many of the people that run those things are on both sides of the fence. They will start wars, they will fund wars, they will, fight wars, but then on the other side of it, they're also funding the protesting against said war. Food and Drug Administration, they will greenlight certain foods and drugs knowing that there's shit wrong with them, just so that they can later medicate you for them, or things of that nature. It's always both sides of the fence. And so the reason I bring that up is, looking at that tactic, wouldn't it be similar to say, I want all to worship us. Same concept as I am legion for we are many, or let us make man in our image. If you want all of those beings to worship you one way or another, one way or another, what would you do? Right? You would create both sides of that. You would create both sides of that. You would create God, which is not the true name of the first. That's not the true name of the first. And you would create Satan, the devil, also not the true name of the adversary. They're one and the same anyway. Anyway, I don't know. Very interesting to me. I haven't gotten that hyped up about some shit in a minute, so I wanted to share it. I hope you're having a cool weekend. I may talk about some more shit. I'm going to look into this more because it's very interesting to me. Elohim and Legion. That's going to make people mad. I can already tell that's going to make people mad. That's cool, though. I love you. Peace.